Here we go again. Twin Leopard Entertainment presents Singapore Sling is one of those rare films that's sick, depraved, and disgusting, yet somehow also fascinating and thoroughly enjoyable. I've watched a handful of films that display extreme levels of depravity, mostly during a phase in my life where I want to test how much I can handle. Apparently, I can handle quite a bit. I never really found myself loving these films or even enjoying them. They were mostly depraved for the sake of being depraved, and those which attempt to use their depravity to deliver some sort of message were often tedious to watch and unnecessary in their extremism. Singapore Sling, however, while featuring such disturbing and gross scenes such as mother-daughter incest, daughter-daughter incest from beyond the grave, vomit, urination, shock therapy, gruesome murder, and kiwi masturbation, it never gets boring, and it's always comedic and compelling. This is one of those movies that I'm not even sure why I like it so damn much. I can never figure out what it is that makes me so entranced by it. Every time I watch it, I start off not liking it very much, sometimes even hating it, thinking to myself, why did I give this a 10 out of 10 on IMDb? But every time, I regain my love for the film before it ends. Singapore Sling, subtitled The Man Who Loved the Corpse, is an obscure film by an obscure Greek auteur, Nikos Nikolaidis. It's a kind of homage to the 1944 film Laura, shot in surprisingly beautiful black and white cinematography and complete with voiceover narration and monologues. Singapore Sling tells the story of a detective looking for his love Laura, whom he presumes to be dead. He somehow gets shot and stumbles upon a murderous and depraved mother and daughter duo and is held captive by them. They call him Singapore Sling as they find a recipe for the drink while searching him. This detective is presumably the same detective from the movie Laura, Mark McPherson. The subtitle of the film refers to the fact that Singapore Sling is in love with a woman that is most likely dead. And indeed, it is revealed early in the movie that the daughter and mother had killed Laura in one of their sadistic games. The daughter character pretends she is Laura due to her resemblance to the woman in order to trick the detective into loving her and helping her escape her mother. It's a simple plot with lots of potential and an interesting premise due to its background in film history. The whole movie takes place in the mother and daughter's house and only stars a small cast of 3 people. This allows the viewer to spend a lot of time with these characters and get to know their kinks, quirks, and neuroses. Every character is certifiably insane, so let's talk about them from least crazy to most crazy. On the saner side of things, we have our protagonist, the detective Singapore Sling. But even this detective has his quirks, the main one being that he does not speak and appears to be comatose. The little we learn about this character occurs within the beginning of the film via voiceover narration in Greek. Through narration, we learn of his motivation and his love for Laura, and gain small hints of his past, although ambiguous. We learn that he was shot, but we never find out why, when, and by whom. And we also never learn how he came upon the house where Laura was murdered. The narration, which is usually accompanied by jazzy music, is very film noir inspired. Singapore Sling is a character taken straight from a film noir and dropped into the nightmarish world of Nikos Nikolaidis. And as such, he follows character tropes expected of a film noir detective, although some of his actions are questionable.
Στεκόταν μπροστά μου. Ένα ζευγάρι σκουλαρίκια που κάτι μου θύμιζε. Και ένα παλιό λούγκερ στο χέρι από εδώ μέσα. Αλλά η τύχη δεν φτάνει πάντα. Πρέπει να της δείξω την καλή μου διάθεση και να κερδίσω λίγο χρόνο. Γι' αυτό και άρχισα να ασχολούμαι με το κορδόνι του παπουτσιού μου.
This is certainly an odd way to gain someone's trust when you can just talk to them. But for reasons unexplained, Singapore Sling can't talk.
Αλλά δεν νομίζω ότι είχε διάθεση να με ακούσει. Έπειτα ποιος είπε ότι ήμουν σε κατάσταση να βγάλω έστω και μια λέξη.
In fact, from this point onwards, he does not even talk to the audience via narration until the very end of the film. He also remains comatose and passive, completely at the mercy of his captors, and only gradually regains the will or the ability to act for himself near the end of the film. By playing the mute and helpless doll, Sling acts as the audience surrogate. His torture is our torture and his confusion our confusion. Even though we know close to nothing about him, or his past, or even about this Laura woman that he loves so much, we root for him because he's the only one normal enough to root for. Next, we have the mother. If this movie has an antagonist, it would be the mother. This diabolically evil character is cruel and sadistic to both Singapore Sling and her own daughter. Indeed, the degree to which the daughter character is fucked up is most definitely determined by how fucked up her mother and now deceased father were. Nurture definitely dictates the daughter's neuroses. But what excuse does the mother have except nature? Our first formal introduction into the depravity of this character occurs early on in the movie, when the daughter relates how she and her mother would play a game where they would reenact the murder of Laura, with the daughter playing Laura and the mother playing herself. The premise starts off like many pornos, with an attractive lady being interviewed by an older attractive lady for a job.
Laura? Were you always a good girl?
My lady, if I hadn't been a good girl, I would not be so poor, nor a secretary.
Come closer.
Oh, no.
Are you still a virgin?
Oh, indeed, I give you my word.
You must be a virgin to be accepted here. Tu dois être vierge. And for that, I need some proof.
No.
But now, Laura, be so good as to...
Oh, you're squeezing the shit out of my hand. Don't hurt me, Mommy.
Don't be afraid, my darling.
Last time you hurt me a lot.
Yes, mother-daughter incest, everyone, with a strap-on, which may or may not actually be a strap-on, as the daughter character indicates that it gets hard when you touch it.
You know, my mommy has a little thing between her legs. You touch it, it goes up and up and up. It gets big.
And with that lovely scene, we have the daughter character, who definitely steals the whole show. This movie is as much about this character as it is about the journey of Singapore Sling, perhaps even more so. In fact, just like Singapore Sling, the daughter communicates with the audience, not through voiceover, but rather through an interview-style breaking of the fourth wall. She gives us much needed exposition about the death of Laura, her depraved childhood, current lifestyle, and her deceased father, whom she still believes to be alive. She also has this tendency to narrate events as they are happening on screen.
Night in the house. Mommy caught a bad cold and I'm cupping her. She must have caught it on the rainy night we buried our chauffeur.
While the actress that plays the mother plays her character almost like a gangster, cool, collected, and in control, the actress who plays the daughter gives an over-the-top, energetic, quirky performance that is immensely entertaining and oddly erotic. It should be noted that the mother speaks in French and sometimes in English, despite the fact that Singapore Sling speaks in Greek and the daughter always speaks in English. Given that this is a Greek movie, Singapore Sling speaking Greek is probably something which is supposed to be relatable to the film's audience, while the crazy mother and daughter duo would seem foreign. Although, given its widespread nature, I doubt the English language would sound foreign to anyone. The daughter's use of it combined with her American accent definitely seem out of place, however, which makes you wonder, perhaps she was also kidnapped by the mother and the now deceased father at a very young age. If you asked me to describe this movie in 3 words, they would be disgusting, erotic, and hilarious. That's definitely an odd mix of adjectives. And yet, somehow Singapore Sling not only manages to successfully mix these adjectives into one movie, but also makes them interrelated. Let's start off with the humor. Despite the subject matter, I wouldn't really describe the humor to be dark comedy or black comedy. The comedy of the movie is often rather light. Take the opening scene for instance. Despite the fact that we have 2 women dressed in unusual clothing digging a grave in the rain, we get the rather broad and vaudevillian comedy of the woman getting slapped in the face by some mud. Admittedly, it's not very funny, but the use of slapstick comedy in this early scene is an unusual choice. Much of the humor in the rest of the movie is derived from the daughter's over-the-top performance, but even still, some humor is based on how gross the film is. Yes, This movie is gross, but its gross scenes are also some of its funniest. Singapore Sling getting pissed and vomited on are definitely gross scenes, and they are almost funny in how out of the blue they happen. But there is also a very funny scene at the dinner table.
Right to touch him. Having a feeling better. And Kim boys in the end. Down in the pig.
Finally, let's talk about the sex. Sex scenes and sexual acts in this movie can be revolting, funny, or even sexy, or a combination of the three. Take the kiddie masturbation scene. I may regret saying this, but there's no denying that it is kind of erotic, despite its obvious anti-eroticism. Masturbating with a fruit is comparatively normal to the acts of rape and other sexually deviant behavior in the film, and is also one of the rare acts of pleasure in the film that isn't tied to an act of pain, humiliation, or revulsion. The daughter's performance is also very seductive, given that the character is attempting to seduce Singapore Sling by pretending to be Laura. She ultimately fails to be convincing as Laura, however, as her base sexual deviancy always shines through, resulting in some comedic moments.
Oh, do you like it? Me too.
When the sex isn't sexy, it could still be a source of humor. Let's take the mother-daughter rape scene. The porno-like setup, followed by the reveal of the giant strap-on, is very funny. The sex scene that follows isn't very funny, and is actually rather disturbing, given that it's an incest rape scene, and the daughter complains about being in pain. This isn't the only parent-offspring rape scene in the movie as well. The daughter relates how she lost her virginity to her father, in a scene that once again incorporates absurd humor and combines it with the ickiness of the subject matter.
I remember the day that Father took my virginity. I was very young then, only 11 years old. How cruel, Father, how cruel. Heaven will punish us. Hell.
This video is already 13 minutes long, and I barely scratched the surface. Suffice to say, Singapore Sling is one messed up movie, but an enjoyable messed up movie, which I find myself returning to over and over again. I may do a second part, diving deeper into the film, but I'll leave it here for now. Until then, thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and please, embrace the weirdness. I'll see you in the next one, bye.